Hello, good morning. It's so good to see everyone. Marshall University is very excited to be part of the First Two Network. I'm Katarina Schrey, Director of Student Success, and I have the privilege of introducing our presentation. We are so blessed at Marshall to have a great institutional team, and quite a few of them are with us today, and they will introduce themselves as we take turns presenting our slides. But I am so proud to say that our institutional team is made up of a great mix of student leaders, faculty, staff, technicians, administrators, and people like me, friends of the cause. We chose these prompts for today's talk. Something that we all love about First Two is that students speak first, and we will begin accordingly with hearing a little bit about our student club at Marshall. Ashley, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Schrey. Good morning. My name is Ashley Krasnamski, and I am a senior at Marshall University. I am majoring in mathematics and minoring in communication studies and digital humanities. I also serve as the student director, and as the equity and inclusion lead for the First Two Network. I currently take part within Marshall's First Two Network Campus Club, and to give you a brief demographical perspective of the club, we have about 12 active members. Most of our club members are upperclassmen, yet we have a variety of STEM majors spanning from technology to mathematics and engineering to the biological sciences. And to really break that down, that is 3 people in tech, 1 in mathematics, 1 in engineering, and 7 in biological sciences. So I'm most proud of the family-like atmosphere that we've created at Marshall University. We find that providing a safe, inclusive, and relaxed club environment has allowed us to form meaningful connections and priceless friendships, all the while advancing our professional goals at a steady pace. You'll see the pictures on the screen, and they exemplify the fun that we're able to have, all while building a fantastic support network. On the left, you'll see Marshall University's campus club members as we visited a haunted corn maze back in October of 2021. And the most right picture is from our March get-together, where we went to Tickers and Timbers for axe throwing. And the very center, you get to see the most recent outing, which was a collaboration between West Virginia State University students and Marshall University students, where we met up in April to throw axes and participate within the Area 51 escape room. Next slide, please. Thank you. At Marshall, our Plan Do Study Act cycle was focused on identifying barriers to persistence and creating a resource that would aid incoming freshmen. Whereas this primarily is targeted at first generation rural and or like underrepresented students, this cycle also has the potential to aid in the success of any student. And so we found that we were able to build meaningful connections between faculty, staff, and students. We're able to identify issues that were barriers to STEM persistence from multiple frames of reference. So in this case, it was from the student perspective as well as the administrative perspective. We were able to eliminate power structures and toxic stereotypes through active communication at Marshall University. And I should elaborate on that by saying we were able to actively take down those power structures by communicating, by supporting student to faculty and student to staff communication. And lastly, we're able to combat systematic oppression through advocacy and the formation of diverse teams dedicated to problem solving and support. And to break that down a bit, we were able to do that as us students serving as representatives for underrepresented groups. So we were able to support diversity while creating positive social change in our local community and surrounding areas. And by working with Dr. Somerville, I was able to capture this lovely quote from him, which really shows the supportive atmosphere that has become available to underrepresented students through this amazing work from the PDSA, as well as the campus club in general. And so that quote is, "Some questions, there's a finite, easy answer. With other questions or concerns, we have to approach those student concerns in a different way. It's not just an information-based resource. It's not enough for us just to know the answer to those simple questions. We have to be an emotional support team." we have to care. Next slide, please. Did it go to the next?
Sorry, having a little bit of technical problems.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine.
I move things around. Here we go. Woo.
Thank you.
Woo.
With the PDSA, these are directly from the PDSA cycle that we did at Marshall this past year. 2 surveys were sent out, one in August at the Week of Welcome event that Marshall holds for incoming freshmen, and the next was sent out a few months later to students via email. And so you'll see in the very first, the leftmost graph, the anticipated concerns for incoming freshmen. So this was targeted for first generation college students. And you'll see a lot of the concerns were that they would fail in personal life and or school. There was a lot of responses that included imposter syndrome, or that they did not have the educational background that they needed. And then there was some that was for obtaining school supplies and for not fitting in. And the second survey that was sent out later, this was the types of issues that was reported by incoming by those freshmen. So most of them had troubles with financial issues. There was some application issues getting started, so just logistics, feelings of isolation, and then uncertainty of career path. And then lastly, discrimination issues. And so just to explain this chart a little bit, there were 18 responses in total. And that was, and so you'll see the frequency. It does not add up to 18, and that's because each response had more than one issue identified within the response. So this just shows of the 18 students, each student had this many concerns or issues reported. And if you would like to view those questions or responses in more detail, please feel free to reach out to me. And that should do it for me. Thank you so very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashley. Mike, the floor is yours, provided I can advance our slide, there we go.
Sure. Good morning. I'm Mike Norton from the chemistry department at Marshall, and I coordinate the immersion program here. There's 2 broad areas that I'm pretty happy about or proud about. One is kind of growing a network for the students, and the second one is professional development. Particularly, though, I have these 4 points here, is I believe some of these relationships that these students are forming, they may continue through their life to keep in contact with each other. And you've already seen how close the students are to each other. We also started a program with state, and we hope to bring that to the University of Charleston also this next summer. We definitely have students that are learning research and presentation skills, and amazingly, at a very early age or early in their undergraduate programs, they're able to compete in nationwide programs for research opportunities off campus. And that, I think, is a really wonderful accomplishment for those students. These pictures that I have up here are about a trail that we built. It was the Meeks Mountain Trail, building a new trail where nothing existed before. We worked with state, we worked with a lot of other volunteers, and it was really wonderful to see. There's no place for people to walk before, and then after you've worked, there's a 1/4 mile that exists, and it's kind of emblematic of blazing trails that we hope to do through immersion to get students started. That's it for me, thanks.
Love it. Now we go to one of Marshall's greatest treasures, Andrea.
She's too sweet.
Hi, sorry, I'm trouble with the slide again. Here we go.
You're fine.
By the way, Andrea's the one in the white coat in the foreground towards the right-hand side.
Hi. Good morning. I am Dr. Andrea Duhan. I am super excited to be here and be representing the mathematics department. I'm assistant professor of mathematics. I had the privilege this year of working with an incredible program that just allowed students to kind of get a reunited start with mathematics in the in-person classroom. And so at Marshall, we have a lot of ongoing support for our students, and that can be through in-person tutoring, online tutoring, through our virtual programs. But this year, we really felt that there was a special need. And that special need was we had students who had been in this virtual space for so long. And how do we reacquaint them with our education system, right? With being in the classroom, with adjusting to community, and sort of finding that in-between space behind a mask. And so we created this COVID catch-up system that was specifically targeting mathematics and chemistry. And what it did was bring students who volunteered to come in, who were taking college algebra and or pre-calculus in the fall, and allow them to kind of have this intense, reacquainted with mathematics and chemistry experience. And we had small classrooms. They would come in the evening, so an extra a couple hours of engagement with STEM, which was wonderful, get to know us as professors in an intimate way, and then really bring forth some of their questions. And so even though we were targeting the material, right, that they were going to encounter, we were also really looking at what does student success look like, right? What are the tools that you need? How do you reacquaint with the new systems that have been made in place? And then how do you find a home in a space where truthfully, you're still not feeling 100% community because you are still behind this mask? And so we really wanted to give them the opportunity to kind of ease into it, and then provide other avenues once the 2-week program was done for them to re-engage. And so we also had a partnering program that was 8 weeks long, in which they could go Tuesdays and Thursdays to meet with other professors and kind of get that help. And what we really, we had a curriculum set up in the mathematics department. I believe chemistry did as well. But what we intended to do is say, what do you need? Right? What are your fears? What are your anxieties? What is it that we can provide? And then what are the things in math that you just don't even know how to interact with anymore? So even though we had our curriculum set for what we believed our students would struggle with, we really wanted to be student-led, right? It was for students, about students. And so when there was a redirection or a shift in what they needed, we immediately catered to that shift and then allow them to see it. And we really targeted at the very beginning, introducing them to, the software, the websites, the things that they were going to be consistently interacting with that maybe they weren't familiar with or didn't know how to truthfully use for their benefit, right? Because we have a lot of resources, but sometimes they just become another thing we do rather than us truly engaging it and then using it for what, our benefits and for the longevity of what we want to do. And I think the one thing I will say about this program that it allowed is for that relationship and care to really be built. I am a believer that in education, you have to care about the students before you care about teaching them anything. And I think that this program re-emphasize that for each of the students. I had the opportunity to create incredible relationships, and many of the students who were in my COVID catch-up ended up signing up for my class in the fall, and sometimes signing up for my fall and my spring class. So I got to work with them the entire year, and it was really exciting for them to have this open door feel and to say, I feel welcome. I can come to you. I can ask questions. I don't have this fear or this separation, right? That wall that sometimes is created unintentionally between professors and students. And what I would like to share as I end is just the impact that you can truly have in students when you open that door to support them, not only in what they're learning, but also in what they're living. I had the opportunity this semester to have a young lady who was in my COVID catch-up class. And this young lady's stellar. And I have a policy in my classroom that if a student gets a 90 or above in their throughout the semester, and they do not miss classes that are unexcused, that they get exempt from my final exam. Now, just to let you know, getting a 90 or above in my class is a very difficult test. So I never have an extensive amount of people, but when they're there, it's definitely earned. And this particular young lady had been getting A's throughout the entire time, but there was this one time in a test that her performance was below what was expected. And when she got this 57 on a test. I inquired about it because it was not hers. And when I asked her in that moment, she said, it was just a day. I let it be. I continued to work with her throughout. And then after meeting with her, decided that if at the end of the semester, because this was her second test, if at the end of the semester, her work paralleled exactly what she had demonstrated beforehand, that I would allow her an opportunity to retake that test. And I did that because I felt that if she continued her work as I knew that she could, she deserved a second chance, regardless of what had happened. What ended up happening at the end of the semester is that she reached out and said, Dr. Duhan, I did A. Like everything else is an A. Are you still going to uphold this particular thing we talked about? And I said, absolutely. She came in the very last day to take that exam. I knew before she took it that she would get an A. And in fact, she did. She got an A on that exam and got her exemption. But after speaking to her in that moment, I realized the importance of the second chance. Because in almost tears, she confided in me that the reason that she had not done well on that test is because it was the day after she found out her parents got divorced. And for her, that was such an emotional experience. She could not be present in what was going on. And the fact that she got a second chance at being able to demonstrate her mathematical ability because someone decided to care meant the world. And so as she was saying bye to me in that semester in almost tears, she was so appreciative that she was in a space where she could confide and say, hey, would you be willing? Because a lot of times we have that wall and students are not able to even ask for a second chance. You may be wanting to give it, but there hasn't been a space created for them to feel the right to ask for that. And so I think with this First to Network and the things that we have implemented at Marshall, it has given us the opportunity to create those connections and to be able to get to know the student holistically, because what happens outside of the classroom matters just as much. And so I just want to encourage you through this network and to the work that you do to look at the students that way and know that you are making an impact, because that young lady walked out of there feeling successful and feeling different than she did. And she was there because there was an open space for her to say, hey, I don't know if you're going to believe me or not. I didn't know what happened when she asked me for that second chance, but I was so glad that I gave it to her blindly and just gave her parameters that she had to meet in order for her to have a second chance at that test. So thank you so much for this opportunity. We are very excited. I know I am. I'm almost getting teary-eyed just talking about it. So, but that is all I have.
Thank you, Andrea, very much from the bottom of my heart. We at Marshall, we're very grateful for the work the First Two Network does, and for the work that it empowers us to do. So thank you all very much. We're happy to take questions in the chat. We want to close with this little graphic. It's not perfect. We're still tweaking it, but the message we're trying to convey in this graphic is that First Two helps Marshall put students at the heart of what we do.